I'm so excited to be talking today with all of you about intelligent DeFi. This concept is really near and dear to my heart because I wrote a blog post about it. I transact more on chain than I do off chain. All of my DeFi is, or like all of my finances are on chain, and uh, yeah, and I've been liquidated more times than I can count. Unfortunately, don't copy trade me. But what we've seen recently is that DeFi is incredible, right? We started off with Maker being able to borrow against your ETH without selling, and then Uniswap being able to trade any token, and then Compound came and we were able to we're building this whole new economy from scratch, which I think is incredible. But since then, we've faltered and we've seen that, okay, since the merge, LPs have lost over 700 mil in Cs due to loss versus rebalancing. And there's gas fees are too high. Derivative exchanges are centralizing their order books. Even Polymarket, unfortunately, has a centralized order book and can easily censor. Yeah. But we have this reemergence with intelligent DeFi. So I want to hear from all of you. First off, would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and your project, and then would love to chat more about what intelligent DeFi means to you. So Weso, would love to just start with a brief intro.
Sure. I'm Weso with Beefy. We're a multi-chain yield optimizer and concentrated liquidity manager. We've been around for about 4 years, 300 million TVL, about 500,000 users, and we interact with pretty much every DeFi protocol that exists.
Hello, my name is Mikael Lazarev, and I am co-founder and CTO of Gearbox protocol. We are building next generation lending protocol when you can have lending protocol embedded into your wallet, thanks for account abstraction. And today we are one of the usage use cases for leveraging. So this year, during the points money for LRT, thanks for EigenLayer, TVL was around 400 millions. Now it's dropped a little bit, but still, I definitely believe that DeFi has a very great future.
Hi, yeah. So my name is Andy, and I'm part of the Frax finance team. We like to think of ourselves as the decentralized bank of crypto. That's how we put it together now because we do a lot of things in DeFi, such as stable coins. We have our own L2, LSD, AMM lending market. So we try to cover everything in the DeFi realm. Yeah, we're working with Beefy and you guys as well. So happy to meet you guys.
Likewise.
Love to see the possibility. One of my favorite parts of DeFi is to see teams work together. But yeah, would love to learn more about what intelligent DeFi means to you, and then how you at Beefy, Gearbox, and Frax are working towards this vision.
Right now, I guess we're operating stupid DeFi, which is you only have access to so many things on chain, right? You don't have the computational power to build a whole lot of complex products. You can't really access history. We don't really, as the multi-chain world grows and we become wanting to interact with more or different blockchains to build more complex products in that realm, we can't really do that right now. We have like bridging and messaging solutions, but that's really clunky. It's expensive. It's also, could it be a security risk? So there's a lot of intelligent DeFi use cases and that's going to be able to help us build those complex products, access history from the blockchain, be able to know exactly what's going on and what state is on one blockchain network from another blockchain network. That makes you be able to build like complex lending markets or yield optimization strategies or like rewarding strategies. So there's a whole lot of use cases now that this sort of unblock is there, and there's a whole bunch of things we can build.
I believe when we talk about intelligence DeFi, it's more about abstraction. So even today, if you ask, is DeFi intelligent? Definitely yes. But to understand DeFi today, you should be like PhD in math or good in computer software. Really, yeah? What I mentioned is intelligent DeFi is to build the protocols when we can put all complexity out of the user and make the system intelligence. Today, the intelligent DeFi requires intelligent users. Tomorrow, the more intelligent DeFi will be available for everyone, any person who today use a bank application, even, I don't know, 70 plus, who can put deposit, should be very ensured and safe to use DeFi. Why? Because DeFi is intelligent and risks and different potential problems are covered on the systematic level.
That's a great point. For me, I think on a high level, intelligent DeFi to me screams simplifying the complicated layers of DeFi and helping the users make smarter choices. So if we actually take a look at DeFi, there's so many moving parts, right? And for a common user to onboard that, it's very complicated. And on the tech side, with you guys coming out with AVS, co-processor, ZK, a lot of people don't know anything about that. So it's like untying the infinite loops and knots of like complexity for me that a common user can come. And that's what intelligent DeFi is, simplifying things, making things easier and better for people to use this complex DeFi to make smarter choices, to make smarter yields, opportunities, and all that.
Absolutely. I think end users should have an abstracted experience and they don't need to be concerned about the specific implementation of how an AMM works, for example. I'll give my definition of intelligent DeFi, which is it's DeFi that makes use of off-chain computations made verifiable through ZK coprocessors. They make use of off-chain data by natively integrating it using ZK TLS or an intersubjective oracle or these other off-chain mechanisms, whether that's an auction. And again, the key part is for it to be decentralized, is these trustless off-chain mechanisms must be verifiable. And in that vein, Weso, I know you talked about history. Mikael, I know you're doing some cool stuff with ZK coprocessors and Lagrange for proving points, like for giving rewards to users. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And as I said, I really, besides like my background in Gearbox CTO, I really like products and think from the user standpoint. And I believe the old technology like EigenLayer, ZK coprocessor, etc., should solve real problems of real users. And unfortunately, we have a lot of problems in Ethereum ecosystem, like a legacy. For example, ERC20. To be honest, it's not like the ideal solution at all. And we have a lot of problems with security, like approval. So each time when one protocol was hacked, you can see a lot of messages on Twitter. Hey guys, the protocol was hacked. Go to revoke and remove these allowances immediately to save your things. So one part could be improved. And we also work with the key coprocessor. That was the next step. The second part, what we work in is today we have multiple networks. In Gearbox, we deployed on 3 of them, but literally just imagine a lot of complexity for end user if the user get some rewards on 3 different network. Yeah, sounds crazy. We still has no multi-call. We have no one multi-call on the normal level, so we should do click transactions one by one today if you are EOA user. Thanks, we solved it in Gearbox. But even though you have, for example, some rewards in 2 different tokens on mainnet, 2 on Optimism and 2 on Arbitrum, 6 times you should click button to get the rewards. It's absurd. And then maybe you breach them, etc. After that, no one wants to participate and interact with your system. And what I found that this ZK system, and Lagrange especially, is very good that you can query information across multiple chains. Thanks for EigenLayer, we can really trust this kind of information. So what we built a master chef contract when the user on one chain can one request only. Great UX, one click, then we send request to ZK system and it gathers all information about all networks and rewards from user. It computed privately with ZK proof, so it's verifiable. And the user gets rewards on one chain, which create a totally different UX. Now, of course, it looks more than asynchronous paradigm, but still it's a very great UX. And as I said, improving UX and making DeFi more attractive for users could really help us to bring next billion to the industry. It's our overall goal. And I'm really happy that modern technology, what we could not do without Eigen, without Lagrange, now it's possible.
It's cool to see that ZK coprocessors are already making computations easy and fast so that users go from six clicks, you said, to just one to claim their rewards across networks.
And another part, I don't know how many software developers here in the room, but literally I found myself a little bit biased after a lot of experience development in Solidity. So I write a code for normal program language, I don't know, Rust or TypeScript, I forget. And I start to plan my data points. And I add 2 mappings to keep a different data. In Solidity, if you have a mapping, there is no way to get all keys of this mapping. Yes, you should do a more complex structures like enumerable set, etc. But if it's not your contract, if it's IRC20 and the problem you want to get all approvals for end users on chain, it's still impossible. And of course, it could be fixed with ZK proofs because I can ask, hey, can you give me historical data about all proofs? And because we have an external observer, we can give a verified logic about all existing proofs, and then user could remove in one of them. A lot of stuff which has a bad design initially became our legacy, and thanks to new technologies, we can solve it.
Create a parallel array to just list all of the keys that are being mapped to.
Yes.
This seems like a game changer.
Yeah, but you can't do it on existing ERC20 token, and this existing ERC20 token could be executed not only by you. If I come to your smart contract and I say, hey, I am a user of this ERC20, you cannot get a proof that I have a 0 approvals to external contracts, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes, and it's why I believe querying information, do any computational stuff externally could definitely make it safer and better.
I love that. Andy, you were also telling me earlier that you're using this similar paradigm of verifiable off-chain compute, maybe in the form of AI. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit of a hot take and a lot of people might disagree with me here, but I think the next thing that I'm very excited for with DeFi involved is when we saw the intersection of AI and blockchain a few years back and the whole narrative ran through, I'd like to think that the next run would be something like AI-fi, like where AI use cases mixed with DeFi. Again, like going back to my original point, it's just such a big hurdle with different moving parts for someone that isn't in the DeFi sector or industry or that's like building or that's been in the ecosystem for a long time that knows how to engage with different contracts and different signatures or whatnot, like transactions. That alone, I think, is complicated. And even for myself, when I first joined Frax, digesting the documentations of Frax Finance was very complicated. And this was only when we were issuing like stable coins back then. And since then, we've grown a lot. And we want to see like an intersection between AI and DeFi where it simplifies things for the users, for someone to literally come on board. And I like to imagine where a simple user will engage with an AI agent, for example, and you go find me the highest yielding opportunity for whatever stable coin or any stable coins, and it gives you an option. And with a single click, you're able to either ape into it or provide liquidity. And even using AI for the parameters for lending markets, I think those are the things that we're looking into to make DeFi scale. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways to scale, but I think it's like the simplicity. And this goes way back, for me at least, when I was talking to a lot of people about what is wrong with DeFi. After the DeFi summer, we lost that whole narrative. And right now we're just seeing a little bit more mindshare and exactly. And a lot of more attention. And I think this is the time to scale that things up. And it's similar to how meme coins are so huge on Solana. And those are like, it's very easy to understand in a way, right? It's simple. I feel like we need to make that action item to go into DeFi very easy, and then that will trigger people to learn more about what each DeFi protocol does and what they do best.
100%. Could not agree more. That was very eloquently said. Weso, I'd love to hear more about how you guys at Beefy are planning on integrating verifiable off-chain info, especially since you have such a broad view of every protocol out there.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. And it's funny, we both talked about how the developers are utilizing like this ability to access off-chain data or computations. And then you also said about the consumer side, how we connect with the consumer side. For us, even when it comes to like cost, so like just development costs, there's like use cases where like essentially if I wanted some data, let's say I have for like our token, it's an interest-bearing token. We have it shipped down to Optimism, and we have no way to know exactly like what the difference is or the price for full share of that token or the yield-bearing token is on Optimism. So right now we're just sending messages from Ethereum down via the Optimistic bridge. But every time we do that, it costs like $15. So depending on the cadence, it could be quite expensive. What if you can like just get a proof for that, right? And be able to verify that and put that data on chain via Optimism. Now you can basically reduce that cost significantly. So then all of a sudden now, like even your infrastructure items that you're building are going to be a little bit less expensive. So there's a lot of things on the development side that we'd like to build in order to basically cut down our infrastructure costs. Second is like the concentrated liquidity manager that we have. Right now, it's just stupid because we made it that way because we wanted it to be as decentralized as possible. A lot of the ALM solutions are very centralized. They have the off-chain components where they're deciding during these conditions, we're going to move the range and we're going to rebalance or we're going to do whatever. And that's all done via like the centralized team running some, as somebody was mentioning earlier, some Python script in the basement or something like that. And so we wanted to make a product that wasn't like that is decentralized. You know exactly what the rule structure is. You can come and look at the code. You know exactly what you're getting into. And all it's doing is going by the base of rules that we put on the Solidity contract. Of course, when you're doing that, you can't put a whole lot of complex computation into it. And so it's just now this very easy to use, stupid structure. We want to have more complex computations to be able to do maybe like volatility strategies, moving average strategies, whatever we wanted or what the strategists are developing, being able to utilize all that historical information, make decisions on whether or not, you're supposed to move ranges, imbalance, rebalance, whatever you want to do. And so now utilizing co-processors, we can do that. We can basically do all of the off-chain computations, access historical state, look at, hey, it's getting very volatile. We want to make sure that we're going to widen the range and then send that data down, have it proved and then executed by a keeper network. And now all of a sudden we have a more decentralized version of what all of these centralized ALMs are doing. And so I think that's something that we can work on now developing. Also, we can think about, okay, what if we wanted to create like some sort of like cross-chain yield product? Right now, all of our yield products are very specific to the network that they exist on. And most of that's because we can't access the state data from all the different blockchains. So now if we're able to say, hey, ask for the state data from Ethereum, from Base, from whatever, for maybe, let's say, like a multi-lending solution. So all these deposits going into Aave on different chains. And we're creating now this one lending strategy that is now taking advantage of all the different chains. And we need to know exactly how much is deposited on each of these different chains. So we can have all of that state data sent down to whatever the origin chain is. And now we can have this multi-chain blending product. There's so many different ideas that are now accessible that we can start to work on. And that's basically what we've been thinking about at Beefy.
That's beautiful. And I think the future of these active liquidity managers is super exciting now that we have this verifiable computation done off chain. Kind of makes me think what products were done in the past that were failed because we just weren't ready and now are available. I think Dina is a perfect example of this. There was a stablecoin project that did something similar on Solana and that failed, but Athena made some small changes and now it's viable again. And what you talk about active liquidity management reminds me of Tokamak, which was on-chain market making back. Wait, I'm dating myself, but now I could see Beefy being like the future Tokamak that actually works. And that's beautiful. I know we're running low on time, so I want to hear more about what you think future builders who are just getting into DeFi, they want to build something new with this new paradigm that we have. Where do you think they should start exploring and what ideas would you propose to them to consider? Weso, do you want to start?
Yeah. Getting familiar with EigenLayer, Lagrange, like all those technologies, being able to play around with those toolings. That's literally how I learned to build everything. It's just by trying different ideas out and seeing how it works and playing around with it. I know experimenting is usually the number one thing I try to do. We were talking about rewarding systems. I think one of the biggest ideas out there is to create a better rewarding system for concentrated liquidity positions. Right now, there's a product called Merkle by Angle, but it's all very centralized to all of their backend systems, and it's not always up. You're very relying on a centralized product, so there a lot of times that has breakdown. You're relying on that team to fix things. So it'd be really nice to have something built with these products to be able to say, hey, you have active liquidity for this time period, and we're going to reward you with this amount of tokens, and utilizing essentially off-chain computation in order to identify who gets rewards. Basically, very similar to, I'm not sure what you built with Gearbox. And you can obviously do that now across multiple blockchains because there is really no limit to what you want to do with the creativity, so you can instill it in the product you build.
That's so cool. Mikael.
I can explain a little bit what I definitely want to build, at least what's really driving me, the idea of integrating lending infrastructure into Ethereum cross-chain infrastructure. And imagine what lending is. Here, lending is all-time play with the game. You want to get resource immediately, and you are willing to pay something for this fast access. And with growing of L2 ecosystem, we find the way how we can use zero latency lending for asset transferring between different L2s. So it also will use a majority of verification proofs and asymmetry of spreading information across multiple chains. But literally, imagine with lending, you can wait really 0 seconds, because in normal way, if you want to transfer asset from chain A into chain B, you should at least get some kind of resource lock, not to avoid a double spending here. So you should burn token A on chain A, and then you can mint it only there. And with Gearbox and I believe Lagrange and EigenLayer, it's possible to make a lending infrastructure which could give you ability to transact immediately without waiting this resource lock. Then we can lock as a result of your transaction, and then you can send asymmetrically the signal that to release this way. And for solvers, for people like arbitrage or liquidation bots, it's a totally game changer because it is zero latency. You can't be faster here. So, and it's like the physics. So it's not today things that we do not know how. Zero is always zero. Yes. And in this case, we are doing some research here. Hope maybe this week I will post on Twitter some results, but it's really amazing how lending could be embedded in the infrastructure level and support these cross-chain interactions.
I'd love to see the future of DeFi intersecting with intents. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Andy.
Let's see. I know that you guys are come from a tech background. I don't. So it's a little bit of a pressure for me. So I'm going to comment on something that's non-tech. So I've been with the Frax finance team probably from the start. And I've been interacting with a lot of people. And with our launch of L2, our team tries to shape things that we ship thinking decades ahead, not just for the next year or the current narrative. And I think that's worked out very well for us. And like you mentioned, and with Beefy and everything, I feel like the new builders that try to come on board, try to overcomplicate things and try to create something that's very innovative and new and that we've never heard of. But from my perspective, interacting with different teams that have succeeded, it's literally about making what existed a bit better, tweaking it and making it a bit better and adapting to changes with, for example, when we were algo stable backed, now we're not. Those small, not small, but those changes that show adaptation, I think is what really makes us successful. And if you look at very crypto native, DeFi native projects like Curve, Convex, that's been here for a very long time, you can tell that they're very quiet in a way, but they're very focused and they do what they do best. It's very noble that people try to create new things, and I'm all for it. And with our L2 growing, we'd love to talk to all types of builders, but we want to emphasize that people going into building should definitely think about not just one cycle, because I see a lot of one cycle projects that launch onto chains. And also, I think it's important for you to really do research on which chain you want to deep deploy, because I guarantee like within the next year, I think we're going to see like thousands of chains launching. And I think it's important to pick the right one that suits your project the best. Yeah, that's kind of what my take. And last emphasis is, I feel like with the DeFi summer not there, I've seen still very innovative projects and more builders building on top of DeFi, and it's great to see. But I've seen a lot of tension and competition in the space, and I'm always for, and our team's always for the positive sum game where we try to grow the pie together. What we love to do at Frax and Fraxel is actually work with all these builders that people ask, are you guys competitors? But we don't really see people as competitors. We see them as crypto native partners that we want to grow together. And I think that's the solution to bringing billions and even trillions onto DeFi.
I think that's so eloquently said and a beautiful way to end it. So let's give it a hand for our panelists today.
Thank you so much. And let's make Ethereum great again.
Let's go. Last thing to say about intelligent DeFi is that we have a blog post about this out. If you want to learn more, it's blog.eigenlayer.xyz/intelligent-DeFi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.